Department budgets were due yesterday, so we are in the process of reviewing those budgets. We'll be looking at those over the next several weeks. We hope to have the recommended budget available May 27th, and then we will go into our functional group meetings that first week in June and begin our special meetings June 6th. In addition to that, we have done some calculations on the tentative CalPERS employee contributions, and it looks like the general fund savings associated with those givebacks will be about $1.9 million. So that takes our projected shortfall down from $3.2 million to $1.3 million. Now that's assuming that all departments meet their net county cost targets that were given to them. So as we review the budgets, we need to make sure that departments are hitting those targets. That also assumes that departmental savings that they projected at their mid-year projections, that those all come in where they projected they would, because we are counting on that money as part of this shortfall projection as well. There was some action yesterday at the state. The governor did sign into law AB 109. AB 109 authorizes the transfer of thousands of state prisoners to local jails. The problem with this is this was supposed to be funded with the realignment funding with the taxes that has not gone through. So once again, we've been given a...
Excuse me, we're back to item 22. Want me to read it back into the record again?
Excuse me?
You want me to read it into the record
Yes,
again?
please, would you?
Item 22 is from the Sheriff's Department recommending the board receive an update on the Sheriff's budget as directed from January 11, 2011 meeting. Item number...
Well, good morning, everybody. John DeAugustini, Sheriff Coroner for El Dorado County. It's my pleasure to be able to be back before you folks today and give you a little bit of an update. Before I go there, I'd like to go backwards a little bit on a little bit of history. We have a PowerPoint presentation. Oops, I gotta go back. The first slide here is going to show you the red line is the salaries and benefits for the Sheriff's Office from 0102 to 0910 budget years. If you look at the yellow line, that's the non-salary related expenses such as services and supplies, fixed assets, and other costs to other county departments. And the green line is the revenue, which pretty much is consistent with the non-salary related expenses.
Hey, John?
Yes.
I have a little difficulty with colors. Is the green on the top or on the bottom?
The green is on the top.
Okay, so it's the middle line. Okay, thanks.
Right, this one right here.
All right.
And that's going to be the revenue streams of the Sheriff's Office, state and federal revenues that come in other than the county, net county general fund costs. If you go to the next slide, this is it separates the salaries and benefits, or salaries from the benefits, and if you look at that, you can obviously see, you know, things are going up. They've continued to go up. Part of that is by negotiations through the board and the bargaining units, and also Charter 504. This thing keeps going 2 slides. So basically, in summary, the from 0102 to 910. Total salaries have gone up 44.5%, and the benefits have increased 160%. Overtime, which has remained pretty consistent at about $2.5 million a year from 0102 to 0405, started increasing in 0506 and peaked at slightly over $4 million. Since then, it's been decreasing again. And it's expected to go even further. We're really ratcheting down on that. We're looking at a projected at 2.1 million, and hopefully next year we can even tighten that up further. I think that's a huge issue we're dealing with right now, both through management and through scheduling. The staffing levels, you know, we've gone from 362 full-time employees in 0102 to, actually, it was 399, shows 399. At one point, we were actually up to 404, 07, 08. Part of that, if I go to the next slide here, part of that, starting in 04, 05, was a commitment by the board to increase deputy sheriffs 3 per year. It was a 5-year plan to bring up 15 more deputies to eventually, hopefully, arrive at a ratio of 1 per 1,000 residents. That obviously didn't happen because of the budgets and because it was pretty much unachievable. And then you can see where we started in 07, 08, started dropping back down to where we are now, which is 365, 6 of which are not funded. And of that 365, there's also approximately another, I believe, 25 that are funded but vacant. And that's how we're arriving with, or being able to make it this year. So in the current year, we're projecting so far an overall fund balance of approximately $1.4 million. A lot of that is a result of the early retirement savings and holding those positions vacant. Actually, it's 28 positions right now in order to meet the budgetary demands we have right now. Like I've mentioned about the overtime, we're still ratcheting down on that. Service and supplies, about $600,000. We're looking at about a $1.8 million shortfall in revenue. Those are from state and federal funds. And but again, we're still looking at a fund balance of $1 million. Some of the challenges that we're looking at for finishing up this year and next, or specifically next year, is the ongoing reductions in the state revenue. Every year we budgeted for $500,000 from 08, 09, and 910 for the rural counties money. It's actually going to come in short at $380,000 this year. And the salaries and benefits costs are increasing, partly due to negotiated benefits from the board and also the Charter 504. That does impact my budget. As of 3 years ago, the board offset the charter costs for the sheriff's budget and paid for that. In other words, if the charter increase was 5%, the board automatically, through the general fund, increased the sheriff's office budget 5%. For the last 3 years, the sheriff has been incurring that. The people of El Dorado County twice voted that that was a priority of theirs, to keep the wages of deputy sheriffs fair and equitable, to be able to hire and retain. It was that important to them. And I believe that too, the spirit of the charter. So that's another thing over the last 3 years that has really impacted the sheriff's budget. And with the jails, due to the staffing mandates there, there's really not anywhere we can cut salaries and benefits out of the jails because of Title 15. So given those impacts and those mandates for the jail, the only other place, we're going to meet the CAO's budget this year, the target this year. We're going to make it. It's going to be tough, but we're going to get there. But that puts us at the edge. And the only other place, with all the other mandates, the only other places that aren't mandated are patrol, dispatch, civil, investigations, areas like that, that the communities will feel it. Right now they're not. We're doing everything we can to ratchet down in every place we can, in overtime, in services and supplies, and everything else. That's how we're continuing to fund everything we have. We're funding all the staff, the undersheriff that you folks approved in January. We're going to make it. And as of this next budget year, the community will not feel an impact. But after that, we're on the edge, just to let you know. And there also is a trade-off when you get to a certain point in here, when you get down reducing so far, where overtime, just to provide the mandatory services and responding to calls, will eventually offset any savings realized. And Mr. Sweeney, I got your recommendation that yesterday afternoon on patrol from 01, 02 till present as to how many deputies there are, how many are actually on the street. And we're still working on getting you those numbers, and we'll get you those numbers. But one day when we're in the middle of everything else is a little bit of a short of amount of time, because there was some history that we needed to go back for, that some of which, quite honestly, has probably been lost. But right now for 11-12, we're looking at, if we defund the positions that are on the books, which is how we're going to meet the CAO's target. If we get down to the bare minimum, which is where we have to go, out of 121 deputies, roughly 81 are on the road. The rest will be in investigations, they're in court transportation, they're in one or two in civil, a couple in support services. So those are the numbers. And as far as sergeants, 25 total sergeants, and 15 of those are on the road. That's this year. And then we'll have the rest of the history for you later.
Any questions of our sheriff? We have Supervisor Santiago.
I think I may have missed something. Did you say that the vacancies are going to be kept vacant, but so they're not included in the 11-12 budget?
They are not even going to be kept vacant. Only, other than a few that we can't do without because of mandates, such as some of the correctional officers in the jail, they will all be swept.
Okay.
Given up. So not just unfunded, but gone.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood that.
Which again, puts us right at that edge.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have some.
Supervisor Sweeney?
You said you're going to meet, I guess you meant the 10-11 budget goal.
We're going to be ahead of the 10-11 budget goals with about a $1.4 million fund balance, and we will meet next year's target that the CAO has been working with my fiscal administrative manager and my undersheriff and my fiscal staff.
So how much lower is that? I don't recall. I didn't think to bring it with me. What's the difference between the 10-11, 11-12 for the sheriff?
Roughly $500,000, but what that offset doesn't include is $700,000 salary increase due to Charter 504. It doesn't include changing the way that our revenue streams look or work, which is the right way. They can't be supplemental or supplanting. They can only be supplemental, pulling those out. It changes a bunch of other funding streams and expenditures. Basically what it is, it amounts to is a $4.9 million cut to the sheriff's office.
The last time you and I talked individually, and that's what I had hoped to see more of today. I think you have to revisit the management pyramid at the sheriff's department, and we talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm anxious to see what your plan is there. I'm really concerned that we have an awful lot of management, it seems to me, and I hope that you're going to come back to this board with that management pyramid and explain why we need to stay with it or how we can change it, one of the two. Because
Well,
just saying that's the way it's going to
Okay.
be, don't cut it, because we got some bad budget problems, and they're getting worse, and we got to get through it, John.
I understand that, Supervisor Sweeney, and I agree with you. When I look at the command structure, we have myself, the undersheriff, we have 3 captains. We have a department of approximately 350 employees. 3 captains is way below the average, or not way below, but it's below the average across the state for management staff. When you go to for supervisories and those ratios. If you go to the lieutenant level, we have 7. I think it's within the realm of the responsibilities of everything else that we have, that the sheriff's office, the responsibilities that they have, and that was also brought up in that meeting about the civil and about the coroner's division and all the other divisions that the sheriff owns, some of which the board gave to the sheriff years and years ago, which the sheriff happily took on, and we do want to continue